everyone, and welcome to the 41st episode of NiinaN Knitting. My name is Niina, and I live in Jyväskylä in central Finland with my husband, our two kids, and a dog. You can find me on Ravelry as Niinima, and on Instagram I'm NiinaN Knitting. Today, it's been another month since last episode. Today is Tuesday, February 12th, and I'm at home. The weather outside is really pretty, but I'm just too lazy to go out. It's taken me this long to get this episode done. I'd planned to do it earlier, but things happened and weeks have just been flying by. So now I'm here. I mentioned that it's beautiful outside. It's -4 degrees Celsius, and that's about 25 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm sitting at the corner of a sofa. This is the best light I can find in the apartment at the moment. I'm sorry that the background is kind of hideous, but you know, it is what it is. The intro video that I will have put at the beginning of this episode is something that I filmed maybe a week ago or something when it was a lot colder than now. I'll check what it is in Fahrenheit. So it was about -25 degrees Celsius, and that's about -13 degrees Fahrenheit. So kind of cold. But the day I filmed the video clip was not sunny, but as you could see, the trees were really beautiful with the really light and fluffy snowflakes on the branches. So it was really nice. This weekend we had a bit of rain, and that was the first time since I don't know how long. We've gotten a lot of snow this winter, and we've had below zero, below freezing temperatures. And now last weekend we got some rain, like water, which means of course that all the snow that we had got really, really wet, and it's not nice to going outside. I actually had to walk to work today. Yesterday, I normally commute by bike, and I tried it yesterday, but it was just impossible. I ended up walking my bike at least, like halfway to work and then back, and it was crazy. And actually today, now that it's again below freezing, it's very, very slippery. So I have my shoes with sort of spikes on the soles. I don't know what they're called, and they're really good to walk, but still, not fun at all. Besides, I prefer to ride my bike because it's a lot faster. It takes more than half an hour for me to walk to work, and I don't like to waste time in walking. Right, so that was what I was meaning to say about the video in the front and in the beginning, and then I got distracted by other stuff. But okay, so today I have 5 finished objects. I think I left a blank and then I forgot to fill it in, but I think it was 5 finished objects and a whip, just the one, because I've been trying to not have too many things on the needles at one time. Yeah, and then I have a few purchases, and I'll show them at the very end of this episode. But let's start with the first finished object, which is something that I was working on last time I recorded. So this, I do have two of them, but since I only have 2 feet, two of these plastic feet, um, the other one is not on a blocker or anything. This pattern is called Naapurin Janne, Jean Next Door by Anna Johanna, who is Neolisti M&K on Ravelry. And well, as you can see, I have actually forced this on this plastic foot, so it's a lot smaller than the foot really is, because this is where the heel turn is, where the heel turn starts. But I'm just trying to show you the patterning, although you really can't see them, because I chose let's just say that my choice of yarn was not good. This yarn is something that I bought from a Stash last fall. This sort of, let me check, it's Relana Garne Flottesokke Fiefach, I think. And as a yarn is like one singular thread of yarn, I think it looks pretty nice. I mean, there are sort of one, let me see, that's ply. One ply is white. Then there is one that is sort of, I'm not sure if it's navy blue or black or something, very dark. And then I guess two that are red. And I kind of like this. Is it barber pooling something? As one single yarn or thread, I think it looks nice. But once you knit it up, it's just way too busy. Even on the sole here, where there's only stockinette stitch. I'm not happy with how it looks. And then of course the beautiful pattern that is in this sock just doesn't show at all. There's a cable in here. So there was a cabling pattern here on the back of the sock. And when I was somewhere here, I just started the heel flap last time I recorded. So it ended, or some of the heel flap was made with this same cabling pattern, and then you'd go on and turn the heel. You do some ribbing and then turn the heel, and then once you'd picked up for the gusset, you started doing this other cable pattern, and then the gusset decreases were here on the top of the foot. So it's actually really nice. This is where it's not even a yarn over, I think. No. It's something else. I forget. But yeah, you can see the holes. It's because the sock is really strongly stretched here on the foot. I'm not sure what size it is. My daughter, who just turned 6, tried it on, and she said it was very tight around the leg, and then it was a little too big for her from the foot or in the foot. So I did block them, or well, not really. I soaked them and I laid them flat to dry, and I kind of tried to pull it a little bit when it was wet, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure what size it is. I'm not sure who's gonna get them. But they don't fit my daughter's feet. They're a little too big. The foot is a little too big for her. And I don't know. But anyway, this was the first stage for the Sukka-Finlandia sock knitting competition. I'm not knitting competitively, but I do try to finish the socks in time before the next stage starts. Yeah, that was the first pair. This yarn is just your basic sock yarn, 25% polyamide and 75% shawl superwash. So yeah, wool. And 420 meters in 100 grams. So yeah, maybe a little bit. Well, it's a little more than 400 meters in 100 grams, but still it shouldn't be that lightweight. Anyway, I did try my 2.5 millimeter needles when I was knitting these. So the small needles combined with this kind of thready yarn. No, it's not thready, but anyway, it's the thing is that the yarn is not plump at all. It's kind of dense. So that and my very, very tight knitting ended up with a very, very small sock. I am. That's one pair of socks done. I used 48 grams of that yarn, so that's not a huge amount. We'll see what I do with the rest of it, because like I said, I didn't like the fabric. Oh, it's not a soft yarn or anything, but still the fabric in I mean, I guess it's durable, but just that the color is not, it's not appealing. It's not, let's just say it's not appealing to me. Yeah. I hadn't marked anything more. No, that was my first finished object. Then the second finished object was also with whip last time, and I finally finished it. So this is the sweater I knit my daughter. Last time I had knit the body and I had started to knit the first sleeve, and I was here knitting down, and I was using my DPNs for the sleeve, and I was saying that I'll use the DPNs until I get to decreases. But then I realized that my gauge when I was knitting with my DPNs, I thought was so much different from this body part, which I had knit with my circulars, that I didn't want to continue with the DPNs. So I actually put the stitches on hold on my circular, and then I picked up the second sleeve with the DPNs and knit to the same point where I was on the first sleeve, and then I did or knit the rest of the sleeves on magic loop 2 at a time, and actually didn't make any decreases until just before the ribbing, and here I only decreased 4 or something, so not a lot. and I used this part was knit on my 4.0 millimeter. Let me check. Yes, 4.0 millimeter needles, so that's US size 6, and I haven't marked it down, but I think, yes, I did change to my 3.5 millimeter needles for the rib, so that should be US size 5, I think. The pattern I used is a free drops design pattern called Le Petit Bûcheron, and I really like these cables between the raglan. Raglan increases. I think it looks really pretty. In the pattern, the cables end here, where you start knitting the body, the rest of the body. But I thought it was so pretty, and since it is for a girl, if that matters anything, I decided to go on and knit the cables down on both sides, so it's on the back side too. I started with the instructions of 7/8-year-old, but that was not an easy thing to decide because 7-year-olds there are different sizes of 7-year-old. My daughter is not a petite girl, so yeah, I was thinking that I will have to knit a bit bigger size for her, but there were no schematics in the pattern, and so it was really not easy to decide. But I found the gauge was marked on Ravelry, because I found the pattern on Ravelry, and there was a link to the drops design page, and they had marked the gauge on the Ravelry page, and then I calculated. I measured my daughter's bust size, or whatever, her circumference, and then I counted if I made the right gauge, and I knew I wouldn't. Which size would be the right size for her? Yes, I think that's it. And then I started with, and that was 7/8 years old, and so I started with that. And I know that many people would think that this is kind of tight around the neck, but we did try it on several times, and it was all right. And since I'm always cold, and I like to have my shirts and sweaters really close to my neck, that's what I wanted to make for my daughter, even though she's not like me and she doesn't get cold that much. But she didn't mind it either. So I started with that, and I did these raglan increases according to the pattern up to a point, and then the pattern said to, I don't know, separate for the sleeves, or maybe just knit on until a certain length. But I decided to continue with the increases, which was the right decision, because that's where I actually did reach the right circumference at the point where I separated for the sleeves. The yarn I used here is, I think I have my bag somewhere behind me, sorry. But was Sandnes Garn Lanette Baby Wool, and this is 100% merino wool. Doesn't say about super wash, but you can wash it in the washing machine. And there are 175 meters in a 50 grams ball, so that makes 350 grams in 100 grams. No, 350 meters in 100 grams. So this is listed as light fingering on Ravelry, which is weird because I've used, I think that usually fingering weight is 400 meters in 100 grams. So if 350 meters in 100 grams is light fingering, so I'm kind of confused, but the gauge that I got was 26 stitches on 10 centimeters, and that was tighter, whatever. I had more stitches to 10 centimeters than on the pattern, but that really didn't matter because it was easy to just continue knitting on and doing the increases, and it was very easy to modify the pattern, so that was fine. And I really like this yarn. It's soft. I love this color, this sort of rouge, whatever. So like it is brown, but it's sort of reddish brown. Really like it. The sweater weighs 210 grams, and I think it's really pretty. I'll have to try and take some photos of my daughter wearing it, because I don't even have any photos on my project page, although all the other info is on there. But yeah, and now she'll get to wear it for daycare now that I've shown it to you. Oh, a poor little thing. Yeah, that was the second finished object. Then the third finished object is a new cast on, something that you didn't or haven't seen before. It's the second stage of the Sukka-Finlandia sock knitting competition, and it looks like this, the way I did it. So the instructions were to use a solid or semi-solid yarn. So I decided to go with a self-striping one. I just wanted to use my stash, and I actually like these. So the second sock is here. I've blocked these, and I think I really like these. So this pattern is called Ave. It's ghost in Finnish, and the designer is Heidi Alanne, and she is Sadelma on Ravelry. Alander, sorry, Heidi Alander. And the yarn I used here is Mayflower Classic Sock. Should have it somewhere here for you to show, with a ball band here. I've almost used it up, not quite. And I did try to match the stripes almost, and I almost succeeded. You can see it on the heel that I didn't quite make it, because here the heel, this sort of multicolored stripe is closer to the heel turn than on the other sock. And then of course you can see it on the toes. Here there's just a little bit of this multicolored stripe, and here there's also some of this lilac color. It's fine, it's close enough. And I really like this yarn. It's really pretty. I like the feel of it. I also used the 2.5 millimeter circulars, Chago circulars. I think they're here. No, that's not the 2.5. That's another Chago. Anyway, Chago needles. That's a bigger size. When I knit this, and with this yarn, I mean, as you can see, it actually fits my plastic foot. So it is about 38, size 38 European. So it's about my size. And so 2.5 millimeters is 1.5 US size needles. I knit these on magic loop, but not two at a time, just one at a time, because I did want to. I wasn't sure how much yarn I need, and so I just knit them one at a time on magic loop. I used 60 grams of the yarn in here, and I think they turned out really nice. I might have to keep them myself. We'll see. Because I do have a bit of a problem. I'll talk about it if I remember towards the end of the episode. Right. So that was my third finished object. And something that I knit from my stash, which is something I really try to do now, because I do have quite a bit of yarn, and some of them are really nice, and I do want to use them so that I can justify buying some new yarn. My fourth finished object was a WIP last time, but now I've finally finished it. I started it last fall, but now it's here. It's the Spinel shawl by Paulina Popiolek. And the yarn I used is Lang Yarns Jabol Magic. And the needles I used were my 4.0 millimeter Chagos, which are here. So that's US size 6. And funnily enough, this simple patterning here was, for me, more difficult to sort of get a hang of than this beautiful lace at the end of the shawl. I really, really like it. It took me a little while to get how it goes, how this lace goes, but it is just, it's very, very easy once you know, okay, yeah, and then you do this, and then you do that. And oh my goodness, it's so pretty. I really like this. So yeah, and then at the very end, you have an I-cord. There is an I-cord edge on both sides of the shawl, and then no, not both sides. Sorry, no, just the one. This one. There's an I-cord edge in here, and then you bind off with an I-cord bind off. And it was the first time, I think, when I did the I-cord bind off from left to right. I think the previous, because I've done it before, I think I've done it from right to left. But this was bound off from left to right. So it at first I thought, what? How do you do this? But you know, it was just the same thing, just from one end to another. And as you know, if you've done an I-cord bind off, it takes a little bit of time, but I really like the finishing. It looks really nice. So this is a shawl that I'm going to give a friend of mine next time I see her. I'm really happy that it's all nice and done, and I've blocked it and everything. And I used 165 grams of the yarn here. Yeah, very, very nice, very pretty. And I haven't taken any finished object photos yet, but maybe if I get a chance, because the sun is shining outside right now, so maybe I'll try and take some photos today, or then another nice day, another beautiful day. Yeah, that was it, and I really, really like that one. So if you want, if you're thinking about doing a triangular shawl, this is really nice. Really, I recommend it. Yep. And then there's one more pair of socks. This is the third stage of Sukka-Finlandia, and they're on a blocker because they're bigger than my plastic feet. This pattern is called Impromptu, and it's by Anna Mäkilä, and they're a toe-up sock. So you started with one color, which is your main color, and then the instructions were that for the competition, you need to use 2 to 12 contrasting colors. So at least 2 up to 12 contrasting colors. And I decided to do the way they'd done it in the pattern, because this is a pattern for sports weight yarn, and they were supposed to be for male feet, and that's why they're bigger. And I gathered all my sports weight yarns in a bag, and then I just tried to decide which colors to use for this, and this is what I decided on. So this green color, it looks kind of blue on the screen, but it's actually greener. This is some nalle yarn. I don't have the ball band for it anymore, but I'm pretty sure it's nalle, because this light blue is nalle, and they are very, very similar. So I'm pretty sure this is nalle. So Novita nalle yarn, 75% wool, 25% polyamide. And then this yellow is the same yarn I used for one of my niece's Christmas gifts. It's Tete. Let's see. Because these balls I do have, these yarn balls I have in my project bag that I got from Tampere Yarn Fest. Not last fall, but the fall before that. But yeah, so the yellow, let's see if I can find this. Oops. Okay. Yes. This is TT Pallas yarn, and this is 80% wool, superwash wool, 20% polyamide, 130 meters in 50 grams, so that's 260 meters in 100 grams. And that's the yellow I used in here. And then I have these dark blue, is it royal blue something, bits are Handu Paksukis yarn. Sorry for the crinkling. I do have, there's this really small tag in the bag somewhere. Have I lost it? Well, it's somewhere. Anyway, Pandu. This is hand-dyed yarn. All these are industrially dyed yarns, but this is hand-dyed, and yes, it showed it when I soaked it. It let quite a bit of blue in the water, but it didn't stain the other colors, so that was fine. Anyway, so that's what these different colors are. And the short row heel, it's called boomerang heel in the pattern. You start with short rows, and then you have a few rows that are where you knit all of the stitches, and then you do another set of short rows. And I'm not happy with how I managed to knit it. It's just, especially on this side, you can see you used German short rows, and there are these pretty big holes where you had the double stitch for the German short row. Yeah, so nah, that's not nice, but anyway, I tried it, and it was a new experience again. One of the reasons why I do take part in these different sock knitting competitions is that if I don't, I just end up doing the same kind of nice and cabled patterns. But in these, there are often some sort of little twists in the pattern. So I used 3.25 millimeter DPNs when I knit these socks. That's US size 3, and I knit them in tandem, not on magic loop and not two at a time, but in tandem. So I knit the toe, and then I knit the other toe, and then I knit the yellow, and then I knit the other sock for the yellow, and so forth. That was because I was not quite sure if I had enough yarn, enough of these different colors of yarn, so that's why I did it that way. But in the end, I did have all the three contrasting colors, enough of all the three contrasting colors for both socks, so that was fine. And like I said, they're big. They're big. These are the size M, medium size sock, and I think I read it somewhere that it's supposed to be European size 42. I'm guessing these are quite a bit bigger. My son's foot is 41, 42. And yeah, I'll ask him to try these on, but I'm pretty sure they're too big for him. Too big and too loose, because you don't want to have a loose sock, but we'll see, we'll see. They may be even big enough for my husband, but there's nowhere he's gonna wear socks that are this colorful. I'm not even sure if my son would wear socks that were this colorful. But yeah, so the idea here, impromptu, is that you can just decide it as you go, and use the different cabling patterns or different stitch patterns that there are in the sock pattern. But of course, because I'm the way I am, I use the chart A, B, C, D, E, F. Because I'm not an impromptu person. But yeah, these are ready now. And that was my fifth finished object, stage 3 for Sukka-Finlandia sock knitting competition. The fourth stage has already begun. It began last Sunday. I've looked it through and it looks really nice, but I haven't had the time to do it yet. But my one whip is going to be a beanie, and I'm knitting it on my DPNs. Oops. So it's a cable beanie. There are these two different kinds of cables. There's a yarn over that you slip over for next knit stitches, and then this is just your normal kind of cable in here. Oh, it's not easy to show because my yarn is really dark. This yarn is Drops Alaska, and it's recommended for 5mm needles, and that's why this is so dense, because I'm using 4.0 millimeter needles. 100% wool, and there are 70 meters in 50 grams. I used, let me see, I used 4.5mm US size 6 needles for the rib, and then this needle that I'm using for the rest of the beanie is 4.5mm, and yeah, it is kind of, it's not very stretchy. The pattern here is called Playing with Cables by Patricia Marzen, yeah. There are different variations, different patterns in the one pattern. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. There is a beanie, there is a cowl, maybe a third one. I just forget what it was. Anyway, and this size is adult size slouchy, and well, as you can see, it doesn't look very big. I'm not even sure if I could fit it in my head like this, but yeah, it hasn't been soaked, so that may change it, or maybe not. We'll see when I finish the beanie. If it's not big enough, I'm pretty sure it'll be okay for my daughter. But originally I had intended this for my sister-in-law. She has her birthday this month, and I was thinking about knitting her a beanie, and I think she might like a slouchy beanie. But even though the pattern says this is an adult size slouchy, I doubt it will grow that much once soaked. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, well, like the ball band says, the recommended needle size is 5.0 millimeter needles. So if 4.5 is US size 7, that should be US size 8. And I'm a tight knitter, so perhaps I should use at least 5mm, maybe even 5.5, but I don't have them in DPNs this long. I do have shorter, like it's like 13 centimeters, so maybe it's 5 inches long DPNs, but I don't think they're long enough for knitting a beanie, so I'll just finish the beanie with these and then see how big the hat is and to whom I'll give it. So that is why I'm not sure who will get the socks I just knit, because if this beanie, once I finish it, doesn't fit my sister-in-law, I'm probably gonna give her another pair of socks like I did last year. But yeah, this is what I'm making, and yeah, I do enjoy a good cable. Although with this thick yarn and this kind of cables, I'm not too happy with the needles, even though they look pointy, all right, pointy, but they're not the best tools for making cables, and that's why I do have to use a cable needle for this when I'm doing the cables, because otherwise, usually when I'm knitting socks, I just well, I use another technique, and I'm not gonna try and explain it here, but for this thick yarn, that's not possible. So I'll have to try and finish this, and then I'm going to start knitting the next stage of Sukka-Finlandia, and that's from fingering weight yarn. Looks really nice. Right, so even though I said that I'm going to try and knit from my stash this year, I have made a couple of purchases. Not all of them are yarn though. So the first of them actually isn't. It's something that the French podcasters were talking about last year a lot. So it's the Bullet Journal pour Tricopat. So bullet journal for crazy knitter. No, what? I think there must be a word for it in English too. Okay. Crazy knitter. No, it's not. You can comment down below, or maybe in the episode thread on Ravelry, because I'm blanking now. Anyway, somebody who's, you know, knitting all the time. Anyway, so it's a bullet journal. I haven't even started filling it, but there are different pages for your projects, your needles. There are one of the reasons why I got this is that there's some terminology in English, no, in French. Well, in English too, but in French, because I don't know all the terminology, and of course it's not all in here. But anyway, there's good. So I do have this linguistic interest in the book too. I ordered it from Amazon, and it arrived right after I last recorded. But yeah, I'm going to use this year, and I'm pretty sure that there are some ideas for me to use in a regular notebook for next year. There's also a listing of some French podcasts at the end of this notebook, so I'm going to go and check them out at one point once I get through the queue, the videos that are in my queue on YouTube, because I'm subscribed to quite a few. I'm actually only like a week behind on watching podcasts, but anyway, this is something that I have purchased since last time. And then there is one thing that I really hadn't planned at all, but we were in the store with my husband, and I just came across this box and I couldn't pass it. So as you can see, well, it's upside down. I only paid €1 for it. It's from a local Lidl, so it's the German sort of grocery, all knick-knack kind of store. and they have an outlet here in Jyväskylä, and that's where we were. And I just saw this, and I had to buy it because it only cost €1. This box includes a bamboo crochet hook of 6.0 millimeters, and then there's a ball or cake of yarn. It's 200 grams, and then there's the stuffing. Maybe I'll just show it to you. So there's this crochet hook. There's the yarn. Oops, this yarn band doesn't really. Actually, the back of the box says that the yarn material is product of indeterminate composition. I think it's recycled fabric. Anyway, there's this 200 grams of this, and then there is something that looks like a shoelace, but the box says that it's material for the eyes of these animals. And then there's the stuffing, which is filling wool material, 100% cotton. And then there's instructions for to crocheting an animal, and they say that it's enough for one rhinoceros, one elephant, one giraffe, or 2 seals. So one rhinoceros coming up because it's great. Well, it could be an elephant too, but anyway, I'm pretty sure that I can find other yarns for my stash so that I can try and crochet the other animals too. I'm not sure when I'm gonna do it, but anyway, I just couldn't pass it because it was so cheap. And I know that cheap can be seen as a bad word, pejorative, or whatever the term is in English, but I'm meaning not expensive in a very good way. Yeah, and then there is one last purchase, something that I had planned to make. I had planned this for I don't know how long. I've had a pattern in mind a shawl pattern that I'm going to knit, and I bought a skein of 2 colors a while ago, like I think about 18 months ago. And then after I'd come back home, I realized that I would have needed 2 skeins of one of the colors. So last weekend we had sort of a knitters winter festival here in Jyväskylä. The yarn store Tititu was organizing it, and Rouva Silmusolmu, Sirpa from Rouva Silmusolmu, was there vending her yarn, and this is what I bought from her. So this is Säihkysukkis. It's 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon, and 5% stellina. And this is gold stellina, but I'm pretty sure that I will not be able to show it to you. Maybe you can see a bit of sparkle there. Anyway, so this colorway is called Kultakuume. So that's gold rush, gold fever, something. It's not quite the color that I was looking for, but she does not dye the one that I had already. So about 18 months ago, when I was in Tampere in the yarn or crafts fair, whatever they have, I bought these 2 skeins, and these 2 are Säihkysukkis, and this color is called Kirsikka Cherry, and this is called Aurinko, the sun. And this Aurinko sun yarn was the one that I would have wanted to buy another skein of, wow, that's not good English. Sorry. It's not my native language. I get away with everything. So, Sirpa has changed her ball band too, but as you can see, the two yellows are not the same. I think this is warmer, and well, this is a bit more variegated, I think. This kultakuume, gold fever, gold rush, whatever. But I'm sure they'll be fine in the shawl that I'm thinking about. But I'm not gonna talk about it before I start it because I really don't know when I'm going to get to that. So I'll just have to keep you in suspense when it comes to that project. Anyway, my next thing is finishing the beanie, which is somewhere here. Oh, it's behind me now. And then I'll be starting the socks for Sukka-Finlandia. And then, oh yeah, then there's the kitty that my daughter wanted me to knit her, and I have checked that I have yarn for it, and I have already found found a pattern on Ravelry. It was a free pattern. I'll talk about it when I get to that, maybe next time. I don't know. All the patterns I used today, excluding the Sukka-Finlandia, because I don't. It's a competition that we paid an entrance fee for. My English is really good today. So Sukka-Finlandia patterns, I don't know if they're going to release them on Ravelry and if they're going to be paying or free. That remains to be seen, but and the spinel is a paid-for pattern, but the sweater that I knit for my daughter, that's free. And was there something else that I? No, that's it. So I don't know about the socks. The sweater is free. The pattern is free for the sweater, and the spinel was a paid-for pattern, but it wasn't very expensive. Because I always forget to mention that I very often use the free patterns, but every now and then I do buy one. Yeah. Okay. Wow. I have gone off track again. Anyway, I have already planned which video I'm going to put at the very end of this episode. It's something that I recorded some time ago. I was walking the dog at night, or taking him for his evening walk. It was very cold outside, and if the sound of the snow under your feet is hearable, no, if you can hear the sound of the snow under your feet well on the video, then I'll leave it without any music. But it's because it has a different when the temperatures are pretty low, like -25, like it was that time when I recorded it. It's a very different voice or different sound than when the temperature is higher. For example, now it's all icy and not nice, but when the temperature is around 0 degrees, so that's plus 32 Fahrenheit, is it? Well, the kind of snow that where you can make snowballs, it's wetter. It's a lot wetter than the kind of snow that you have when the weather or the temperature is -20 or -25. So the sound is different when you walk on different kinds of snow. We'll see. maybe this was all in vain, because maybe you can't hear anything different on the video, and I will have put some, or I will put some music on it, but we'll see what happens. Sorry. Okay, let's see what happens next. We'll see when I come back. If you want to keep on watching my videos, please subscribe. If you want to get a notification, click on the bell. I don't use the notifications myself, because they are in your list of subscribed videos when you go on YouTube. But whatever you like to do. I hope you have a great time. I hope you get a lot of knitting and crocheting done, and I'll see you when I see you. Bye.